A very good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I am Kirtika from the Asian Adventures team. Asian Adventure is a 32-year-old company dedicated to conservation travel experiences across the globe. We are the founding force behind the Global Wildlife Fair, created as a platform that brings together tourism, conservation, creativity, and dialogue around wildlife and nature. We also initiated the Indian Wildlife Network as a collaborative platform connecting conservationists, storytellers, and nature practitioners across the country. Let me quickly walk you through what can your be expectations from this webinar. Through this webinar, ma'am will help us understand the conservation status of Fin's weaver and why this species deserve greater attention. She'll discuss how birding and wildlife photography can sometimes unintentionally, though, disturb nesting birds. We'll explore the ethical responsibilities of birders, photographers, and nature enthusiasts in the field. Ma'am will also share her practical guidelines for responsible bird watching that support conservation. And finally, she'll highlight how each of us can collaborate to protect sensitive bird habitats through ethical field practices. Now, without much ado, I would like to hand over the session to Mark.
A very good evening to everyone here. I'm sorry, I will only be able to share my video towards the end of this talk. Okay. For now, we can focus on the bird in question, which is the Finns weaver. Okay. And the people of this region who are also part of today's audience with us. Okay. Um, like I'm an ecologist by training, and I spent many years working in forest ecosystems on seed dispersal interactions, looking at how forest communities maintain themselves, okay, through the relationships between species. So I've always been fascinated by relationships within ecosystems between people and biodiversity, between different species within ecosystems, which modulate and regulate life on Earth. Okay. So today I'll take you into this fascinating journey that we've been on in the last few years with the children of Uttarakhand, and it's given us incredible insights into nature and nature culture relationships in this mountain state, and the whole range of interactions between people and biodiversity
Excuse
that
me, ma'am.
drive species coexistence in these landscapes. Yeah.
Ma'am, I'm very sorry for interrupting you, but can you please remove the screen as in that is blocking the main view for the participants?
Okay. I'm trying to do that. Yeah. Is this okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Even the side screen, if it is possible, wherein our names and everything are visible, if that can be removed, it will be beneficial.
Yeah. How do I do? Yeah. Okay. Is this better?
Yes, much
Yeah.
better.
Okay. Is that much better, everybody? Okay. And so is this okay? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mm, there are still several people waiting here to be admitted. Will you be able to manage that at the back end? There's some seven people.
Sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So today's talk is structured in under three modules. We will first discuss the bird in focus, the fence weaver, and why it's important to think about how we drive a shared existence for the species in grassland landscapes across India. Okay. We'll then move on to the work that we've been doing with our partner schools in Uttarakhand, and how this is leading to a paradigm shift driven by young children from the very landscape that this threatened species is breeding in now. Okay, so without further delay, let's move on. I'm still seeing several people waiting here, or is that okay? Yeah, okay. So let's try to understand what's so special about the fence weaver. Okay. You may, given, I mean, the nature of this audience, I think most of you would be familiar with the Darwin's finches. Finches are a family of birds which are closely related to our weaver birds. Okay. And, Darwin and subsequent researchers found this variation in beak size was driven by the nature of the diet of these species on the Galapagos. Okay, these fascinating discoveries around the beak morphology in the Galapagos finches was foundational to developing the theory of evolution. Okay. However, in the Indian subcontinent, we have four species of weaver birds. As I just mentioned, they're all closely related to the finches, but we understand very, very little about their diet. Okay. What we do know is they vary in their size, in their the shape of their beaks, the size of their beaks, with the largest being the fence weaver. Okay. In this image, which is from Chitwan, it's actually not from India, but it's from the Indian subcontinent nevertheless. We can see three species of weavers. Can you spot them? Can anyone here spot them? Okay. We can clearly see the fence weaver, which is the largest yellow bird sitting right here. There's also the black-breasted and a female of the Baya weaver in this image. Okay, it's very clear that the fins is much larger. It has a much thicker beak compared to the other weavers. There have been some studies, both in India and across other parts of Asia, about the diet of the Baya weaver. Okay, we understand that it is primarily granivorous, especially in the non-breeding season. Whatever little data is available indicates that it feeds on grains in agricultural areas often and is seen as a pest. Whereas in the breeding season, several researchers have anecdotal observations of the Baya weaver bringing in insects as well as lizards and small prey to their nests. Okay. So, but on the other hand, we understand very, very little about the other three weaver birds that are found in India. Okay. In many parts of the sub-Himalayan Uttarakhand and uh, as well as in the northeast, in the Himalayan foothills, we have sites where all the four species of weavers co-occur, like we do now in Uttarakhand, in this wetland called Haripura, found close to this village of called Gularboj. We have all the four species breeding here, okay, and cohabiting this landscape together. Okay. Most of the landscapes inhabited by the weavers are not within protected areas. Okay. And this this is something we really need to understand, okay, to address how we go around like driving conservation for a species which never really occurs too much within the existing protected area network. Okay. Now, the finch is one of the few species which is ecologically rare within the Indian subcontinent. Along the Indian Himalayan region, we have very high levels of bird diversity. Okay, but most of those birds have fairly wide distributions, and there are very few species that are actually ecologically rare. Okay, but whereas if you go to island ecosystems across the world, you have lots of species which are only found in those islands and nowhere else. Okay, but here in the Indian subcontinent, the mainland component, we have very few species that are ecologically rare, and the finch is one of those. Why has it been so rare, even historically, is something we still don't understand because we don't know anything much about its diet or the way it shares space, resources with other species which are very similar to it. Okay. Now, the finch, like the other weaver birds, is a grassland specialist, and not even 5% of India's grasslands are protected, as a recent study from A3 showed. Okay. And grasslands, in the Terai, in the Indian Himalayan region, in the Terai, the Himalayan foothills, have been converted to agriculture, and about less than 5% of these grasslands remain, okay, in the Terai. Okay. And in what remains as well, there has been conversion to woodland as well as encroachment for agriculture. Even within the protected area networks like Dudhwa or um, Manas, grasslands have come under pressure. Outside the protected area network, in places like Haripura, in shared spaces like the Haripura wetland, okay, it becomes even more challenging to address the requirements of both local communities and birds like the fence weaver. Okay. This wetland was notified in the 1960s, okay, when Uttarakhand was part of Uttar Pradesh. A total of 2,200 hectares was notified as Haripura Reservoir. Low-lying bund was created. Okay, the two adjacent reservoirs here, Haripura and Bor. Haripura had about 2,200 hectares in the 1960s, but it has been continuously converted to agriculture, such that today we have less than 33 hectares of the original wetland remaining. Okay, the rest have been drained out and converted to agriculture. Okay, these are shared commons. In the past, as in even today into the present, we have the Boxa and Tharu communities here, especially the Boxa community here in around Haripura, who use these grasslands. They're hunter-gatherer communities, and they depended on these grasslands. Okay. We also have traditional pastoral communities who came down from middle altitudes of what is now Uttarakhand to bring in their livestock here into these landscapes in winter. Okay. But because now of privatization of what was once a large grassland wetland complex, which was a common area, it's with now privatization and boundaries coming up. Boxa as well as the pastoral communities have lost access to the common lands. Okay. In addition, the fisher communities, the fishermen, there are several different communities of fishermen here, and even they have had reducing revenues over time in the last few decades. Okay. So, mean, from here, we'll just take a quick jump into trying to understand how we've been approaching these issues in Uttarakhand. Okay. And I mean, by we, I'm referring to Nature Science Initiative, our organization, and we've been working in partnership with the Coexistence Consortium, as well as Transdisciplinary University and the Royal Enfield Social Mission to support these programs in Uttarakhand. Okay. And on the ground, though we've reached over 300 schools in the last 5 years, we built very deep partnerships with around 8 schools, which is driving a lot of change in Uttarakhand presently. Okay. Nature Vidya flagship program, okay, is very simple in its structure. We bring in simple competitive programs into the schools around biodiversity and sustainability. And then, as schools involve themselves deeper with our programs, as teachers start to implementing these activities in their schools and understand the linkages with the curriculum, okay, we then begin to offer them further support in terms of workshops, in terms of internships for both teachers and the students, where they begin to implement small research projects. And then this has led to a whole series of partnerships, okay, in the last 5 years, which has culminated in several scholarships and awards and recognitions, both for the schools and the teachers and students involved. Okay. This remarkable photograph is also from Haripura. And 5 years ago, if someone had told me that there would be several dozens of students and teachers watching birds, butterflies, insects, and various taxa on their own, documenting these on citizen science platforms, winning recognition nationally and globally. As we speak today, one of our students from this very landscape in Uttarakhand, from the Terai, is in Cornell University. She's the first recipient of the Young Birder Fellowship from Northern India. 16 students are chosen globally, and Jia Katayat is one of them. And these four children sitting here are also remarkable in so many ways. There's Aditi Rana here, who's spearheaded sustained menstruation across Uttarakhand, working with women and girls. And then there's Mukesh Kanpal, Ankit, and Jatin, young birders who've been documenting biodiversity in and around Haripura daily. Okay, and their observations have led to the foundations of today's talk, and also a lot of work that we've been doing in the landscape. Okay. So the work that's emerging from the schools, we're sitting on hundreds and hundreds of reports and activities and programs that the children and teachers have implemented around biodiversity, around culture, and the synergies between these, um, and how these are being impacted by ongoing climatic changes or the conversion to agriculture, as you see in Haripura, various other land use changes, including urbanization in many parts of Uttarakhand, and the growing aspirational and consumerist pressures that we see in every landscape, be it forest, rural, or urban. So these projects and reports are really spectacular. They've been submitted to various programs. As I mentioned, they've got a lot of recognition to the students and teachers on the ground. But we felt that they've not been shared with schools themselves. Okay, even other children within the same school are not aware of what some of the seniors have been doing, or children across schools do not know what other schools have been discovering. So, with the help of Coexistence Consortium, we've been trying to bring these schools and communities together to share their learnings, and not just with each other, but also with government and non-state actors within Uttarakhand, so that they can catalyze further action around sustainability and biodiversity conservation in Uttarakhand. Okay. One of the things we tried this year in 2026 is to come together to celebrate the Guguti Tyar. Okay. I don't know if how many of you are familiar with the Guguti Tyar. Okay. It's the Kumani version of Makar Sankranti. Okay, the mid-January festival that celebrates the shift in the sun's position across the Indian subcontinent. In Kumaon, in the eastern part of Uttarakhand, is primarily associated with birds. However, in the last few years, this cultural association with birds, this deep association with birds, okay, is somehow getting lost, and the festival is becoming more and more routine and kind of, canned in the way it's being celebrated now across Kumaon. Okay. The other issue is that in other parts of India, or even in Western Uttarakhand, in Garhwal, very few people are aware that there is a version of Makar Sankranti that celebrate birds. Okay, we've all heard of how kite flying kills birds in Gujarat during Makar Sankranti, but did how many of us knew that in Kumaon Makar Sankranti is around celebrated around coexistence with birds? Okay, and the relationship between people and birds. So this year we brought together uh, the work that our network of schools have been doing in Uttarakhand around nature-culture relationships in Rudrapur in mid-Jan to celebrate, the weaving cultures that are there, both among the weaving birds, our weavers, as well as the weaving communities in the Terai, the Boksa and the Taru. Just as our birds, the weaving cultures in Kumaon, in Terai, have also been dying out as grasslands vanish, as life's been changing so rapidly that both the birds and the cultures are at threat. Okay, so we managed to put together, and by we, it's a very large we, a huge number of schools, students, and government agencies came together. Over 500 people worked really, really hard to put together this event, where we had several exhibitions around biodiversity, around birds, around culture, as well as around sustainable lifestyles in Kumaon, both around our traditions as well as modern approaches to sustainability, which has become the need of the hour. Okay. Most importantly, I think, and most amazingly, we've had a huge amount of art being produced, as well as incredibly powerful performances, driving home the message from what the children have been learning through their projects. Okay, and this is not something that Nature Science Initiative or the school's teachers, we haven't been teaching these things to the students. These are discoveries that they have made along their learning journeys. And there's so many, like seasoned politicians and administrators have been motivated to address action on the ground. As you can see here, the a cabinet minister from Uttarakhand, Sri Ram Singh Keda, has bowed down to these children were performing in Dehradun recently. Okay, so this has led these collaborations, these events and internships that we built now are leading to a lot of action on the ground. And one of the kind of offshoots of that is this paradigm shift we are witnessing in Haripura, in the Gularboj village, and I'll share some of those insights with you. We also have children from Haripura who are here today as part of the audience, and they will take over towards the end of this talk and share some of their insights. Okay. Um, for about 10 years between 2011 and 2021, the fence weaver was not seen at Haripura. Um, this is a bird that was earlier found around Rudrapur fairly commonly, but with the conversion of wetlands around Rudrapur to industrial areas, um, for over a decade, the bird was not seen. Then in the pandemic, Rajesh Bhaji and Mohan Pandeyji went in to Haripura and spotted the bird there in the breeding season and shared this with others who wrote up a short note in 2021. Subsequently, for about 4 years, the Finns weaver was sighted by everyone. From NSI had just started working with schools in the Terai in 2022, and we reached out to several schools, and several schools participated in coming and observing the Finns weaver. These were children from the Terai, these teachers and students from here. And something that Mukesh Kanpal told me at that stage really struck me. Okay, he said, अगर हमें पता होता कि ऐसे कोई चिड़िया है तो हम उसे बचाने के लिए क्यों नहीं आते? हमें पता ही नहीं था इतने साल कि हमारे आसपास ऐसे कोई बहुत खास चिड़िया है जो दुनिया में कहीं और नहीं मिलती है, और अब इसकी संख्या बहुत कम हो गई है. Okay. Last year in 2025, Finns weaver wasn't reported at Haripura. There were maybe a couple of sightings, but they were not really confirmed sightings. But in 2026, we've had this remarkable story of recovery emerging from Haripura. And I want to share this. This is the first time we are sharing this in any format because it's an ongoing story. Okay. So around 22nd, 23rd May, I started getting calls from students we working with in this village in Gularboj. They were very excited. Ma'am, इस बार fins दिख रही है, fins दिख रही है. मैंने कहा भाई सच में? And they sent me some very like crude videos that they had made with their mobile phones, and it was really not clear whether it was the fins or the buyer. So my colleague Mukesh and I then said, okay, we need to go and immediately check this out. So Mukesh turned up in a couple of days, and then I went there the next day. And indeed, it was the Finns. We saw over 20 males and about a dozen females, and there was fantastic stuff happening there. The Finns weaver the male was trying to build nest, the female was assisting it. Okay. At the same time, the Finns weaver was trying to break down the nests of the black-breasted, and it was just really remarkable. There was as much politics in the society as we were seeing in the human society across the band. Okay. All of this was possible because we had a bunch of scopes and binoculars, which Asian Adventures and Birder Store had provided us over the last 2 to 3 years. None of this would have been possible without the support we received from Asian Adventures and Birder Store. The excitement, you can see the excitement in on these children's faces. I mean, just peering through a scope has been magical. And to discover the fins after the previous year when no one saw the bird really was just incredible. Okay. Initially, for the first few weeks, as the birds tried to nest in a very small patch of the remaining grassland, okay, as I said, only about 30 hectares of the wetland remains. And in this 30 hectares, there is a very small area that the fence weaver is using. Okay. The children discovered that villagers were coming in to harvest grass. The tall grass that the fence is trying to nest on is also used by villagers to build their huts, okay, both for the walls as well as the thatch. Okay. And the short grass, though the Finns or the others weavers don't use the short grass for nesting, but when the villagers get close to the nest to harvest the short grass, the weaver birds tend to leave the nest and abandon them. Okay. So the children started spending the entire day and night for the last 45 to 50 days. They've been sitting there all day and night, keeping a close watch on the nests, okay, and requesting villagers not to come in and harvest grass. Okay. They've also put out several fires, which have been coming from behind the breeding area. They're just, the from the agricultural areas, people have been setting fires, and the children have been actively putting out fires with the help of the forest department. They've been reaching out to the forest department for various support, and there's been a remarkable collaboration emerging on the ground. Thanks to all these efforts, okay, we are today seeing the fins weaver this year in 2026, after a crazy year in 2025 when nobody saw the bird. In 2026, we are seeing the bird fins weaver, sometimes up to 20 birds, right on the bund. I'm not even talking of deeper locations within the wetland. Okay. On 5th June 2026, which coincided with the World Environment Day, the students of Gularboj organized a remarkable stakeholder consultation at Gularboj. They invited their village elders. I was part of that meeting. You can also see the DFO here and several others who turned up. The students appealed to the elders to spare this habitat. They said, अगर हम ये आधा बीघा छोड़ सकते हैं, तो ये चिड़िया बच जाएगी. And it's really amazing. After that, okay, there has been no cutting of grass, either the tall grass or the short grass in the fence habitat. Okay, after this meeting and subsequent engagements by the children, we've seen no grass cutting, either the tall or short grass in this particular in the breeding areas, in the breeding habitats. Okay, they're going elsewhere to collect grass, but they're not coming here. Okay. But nevertheless, the children are very, very concerned because their schools will reopen in a couple of days. And the biggest pressure is not the local villagers, but commercial grass collectors who come with, trolleys and tractors and harvest they'll harvest the entire wetland in a couple of hours with a bunch of laborers. Okay. This is something that the students still continue to be concerned about. Okay. A paradigm shift, is emerging here. It's not like we advise the students or the children. It's not like Mukesh Kanpal or me or others involved in this, my colleagues Raman or Apurva or any of us were guided by anyone to go and save the fins. We haven't written up any conservation grant. All of these catalyzations we see on the ground, the goodwill that we see coming together, be it from the government agencies like the district administration, the forest administration, or the local actors, be it the school administration or the children and the villagers, all of this has happened because of something that we've all been trying to do together. Okay, the events we've done together, the walks we have done together, all the things that we've observed, and this is leading us to come together and share our desire to protect this landscape because we see joint benefits. Okay, not just for birds but also for people. Improved water table status, better fisheries. Okay, overall, maybe opportunities for the youth in this area to learn from bird-based tourism. Okay, these are things that we're all aspiring for together, and it's been really remarkable to document some of this in the last few weeks as it emerges. Okay, I'll now request Mukesh Kanpal, my colleague, to like get the children to share some of the insights with you. Even today, we had three bird watchers turn up at the site with a speaker, and they were trying to play calls of birds found at Haripura. And the children and Mukesh appealed to them to not do so. And with some persistence, they managed to address, the unethical use of call playback in sites like this. Okay, we're talking of a highly endangered species whose numbers are probably below 1,000. And we also understand the bird frequently abandons its nest. In the last 2 weeks, we understand the bird is actually laying eggs, probably on the way to hatching its chicks. And we really need to be very careful in the next month or two if we want to see like this bird breed successfully for the first time in Haripura in the last 5 years. Okay, if we can all come together, if we can listen to these children as their village elders have, then maybe we will be able to collectively save the species in India. Over to you, Mukesh. Please request the children to share their message. And yeah, am I audible, Mukesh? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, मैम. Good evening, everyone. So मैं ना बोल के मैं चाहूंगा कि जो बच्चे यहाँ पर लगातार काम कर रहे हैं वो अपना मैसेज आप तक साझा करें, प्लीज. गुड इवनिंग मैम.
इवनिंग बच्चों, आप हमें क्या बताना चाहते हो? यहाँ पर आपके पास आज बहुत सारे बर्ड वॉचर्स हैं इंडिया के, उनको आप क्या बताना चाहते हो? हाँ।
मैम, जो फिंस है इस बार वो डाम के एकदम पास में है, तो वो अच्छे से दिख जा रही है. और और हम लोगों से कहना चाहते हैं कि पास में बोट लेके ना जाए, क्योंकि उससे फिंस डिस्टर्ब हो रही है. और जो लोग बाहर से फिंस को देखने के लिए आते हैं, जो अदर बर्ड्स को देखने के लिए भी आते हैं, वो कॉल प्ले बैक देते हैं, जिससे बर्ड डिस्टर्ब होती है.
तो डिस्टर्ब होने के बाद क्या होती है? चिड़िया भाग जाती है? घोंसला छोड़ के भाग रही है या वहीं वापस आ जाती है?
डिस्टर्ब होने के बाद मैम वो चिड़िया बाद में कॉल सुन के भी अगर वापस नहीं आती है.
अच्छा, वो नेस्ट छोड़ के चली जा रही है। ओके। और भी बहुत सारे खतरे हैं। आपने अभी देखा परसों के एक वहां पर सांप आ रहा था नेस्ट के पास। 2-3 दिन पहले कल शायद पानी का जो है लेवल बहुत ऊंचा हो गया, नेस्ट डूबने वाला था। ऐसे तो नेचर के भी नेचुरल खतरे भी बहुत हैं, बट अगर हम इंसानी जो प्रेशर्स है अगर वो थोड़ा सा कम कर सकते हैं, खासकर जब गांव वालों ने घास काटना छोड़ दिया है, अगर हम थोड़ा बहुत प्लेबैक और ये नाव लेके नेस्ट के पास जाने वाली हैबिट्स चेंज कर सकते हैं बर्ड वॉचर्स की, तो आपको क्या लगता है इस बार चिड़िया ब्रीड कर पाएगी?
यस मैम. यस
पक्का?
मैम.
पक्का। ओके। तो हम बाकी इंडिया के लोग इस चिड़िया बचाने के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं? आपके साथ कैसे लग सकते हैं?
मैम, एक तो हमारे साथ ज्वाइन होके मतलब अब हमारा स्कूल ओपन होने वाला है तो हम वहाँ पे इतना टाइम नहीं स्पेंड कर पाएंगे.
थोड़ा
जो
आपकी आवाज क्लियर नहीं है। अम,
मैम,
तो हाँ
मैम,
बताओ। हाँ
अब
बताओ।
हमारा अब हमारा स्कूल ही ओपन होने वाला है तो मतलब हम डैम पे इतना टाइम स्पेंड नहीं कर पाएंगे, बट जो और बर्ड वॉचर है वो अपना टाइम वहाँ स्पेंड कर सकते हैं.
हाँ जी, आपके स्कूल रीओपन होने वाली है, आप इतने टाइम डैम पे नहीं बिता पाएंगे, तो बर्ड वॉचर्स वहां जो आते हैं वो जो है आपकी मदद कर सकते हैं इस चिड़िया को बचाने के लिए, एंड उनकी सपोर्ट आपको चाहिए। ओके, वो कैसे सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं?
हम जैसे कोई बाहर से आता है और मतलब हम वहाँ है नहीं तो कोई कॉल प्ले बैक कर रहा है तो वो उनको रोक सकते हैं.
हाँ, ये बहुत जरूरी काम है। अगर किसी और को देखा आपने कॉल प्लेबैक करते हुए तो प्लीज उन्हें रोकिए, ये बहुत जरूरी काम है। ओके। हाँ।
और वो फोटो ना लेके, सिर्फ फोटो ना लेके वो उसको डॉक्यूमेंट भी करें. थोड़ा
हाँ
लंबा
अभी
समय.
क्योंकि मतलब जो अभी डाक पे बर्ड्स आ रहे हैं वो दो तीन मतलब अपने लिए फोटोज ले रहे हैं, उसके बाद वो चले जा रहे हैं वहां से।
बच्चों का ये कहना है कि बर्ड्स आते हैं 10-15 मिनट, आधा घंटा, 1 घंटा रुक के बस कुछ फोटो लेके चले जाते हैं, बट बर्ड्स का बहुत सारे इंटरेस्टिंग बिहेवियर्स है। हमें ये भी नहीं पता वो क्या कार्य है, कैसे वो ब्रीड करे। और बच्चे रिक्वेस्ट करें आप थोड़ी देर रुक जाए, 2-3 घंटे बैठे वहां पर आराम से, और फिर ध्यान से बर्ड्स को देखे और उसको डॉक्यूमेंट करे, तो बहुत अच्छा होगा। ठीक। और क्या कर सकते
और
हैं बच्चों? हाँ।
और हमारे साथ मिलके गांव वालों को समझाने की कोशिश करें कि मतलब पीछे की साइड आग ना लगाए, क्योंकि मतलब अभी हमने पीछे।
ओके। वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट। बच्चे कह रहे हैं आपकी हेल्प चाहिए बर्ड वॉचर्स की, कि आप बाकी गांव वालों को समझाएं कि आग ना लगाए। बच्चों ने बहुत समझाया बाकी गांव वालों को। प्यार से समझाना है कि ये एरिया क्यों हमें बचानी है, ये चिड़िया इतनी स्पेशल क्यों है, और इसको बचाने में हम सबका क्या फायदा है। ओके। ये भी समझा ना होगा लोगों को। तो अगर बाहर से कोई एक्सपर्ट आ रहा है खासकर, या किसी के पास अच्छे कैमरा है, आप फोटो वीडियो ले रहे हैं, आप अगर गांव वालों को दिखा सकते हैं तो शायद गांव वाले आपकी बात मानेंगे, जैसे अभी हमारे बात मान रहे हैं। ठीक। और बच्चों कुछ और शेयर करना चाहते हैं आप?
यस मैम।
हाँ, बताइए। हाँ।
मैम मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि यहाँ पे होम स्टे और ढाबा बना बना
ओके। आप ये चाहते हैं कि यहाँ पर भी होम स्टे और ये कैफे ढाबा जैसे बाकी उत्तराखंड में देखते हैं वो बने, ताकि यहाँ इको टूरिज्म अगर बढ़ेगा तो स्थानीय लोगों को बर्ड्स से जो इनकम मिलता है उस वजह से ये जगह बच जाएगी। तो तब वो घास काटने या आग लगाने नहीं आएंगे यहाँ पर।
और हमारी
जैसे
हेल्प भी करेंगे वो। कि मतलब
आपकी हेल्थ। हाँ।
जो कोई बाहर से बर्डर आ रहे हैं और वो कॉल प्ले बैक कर रहे हैं, अगर मतलब गांव वालों
हम्म।
को पता होगा तो उनको रोकने के लिए या मतलब उनसे बोल सकते हैं कि मतलब ऐसा मत करो यहाँ।
बिल्कुल। अगर और गांव वाले इन्वॉल्व होंगे तो इस एरिया को बचाने में भी वो हेल्प कर सकते हैं। हाँ, खासकर अभी इनको बच्चों का यही टेंशन है कि अगले हफ्ते से स्कूल शुरू हो जाएगी, और फिर यहाँ पर फिंस की रखवाली करने के लिए कोई नहीं है। ओके। अगर जो है नेचर टूरिज्म, इको टूरिज्म की तरफ सपोर्ट मिलेगी, जैसे होम स्टे या कैफे वगैरह खोलने के लिए, तो बच्चे यही सोचते हैं कि वहां पर और लोग होंगे उनके साथ इस वेटलैंड की रखवाली करने के लिए। ओके। हाँ। इनकी स्कूल की जो आचार्य है उनकी रिक्वेस्ट था कि हम एक छोटा सा इवेंट करे गुलर बोझ में। वहां पर कुछ सुंदर से नुक्कड़ नाटक और थिएटर परफॉर्मेंसेस, डांसेस लेके आए, ताकि हम सबको अच्छी तरह से समझा पाए कि इस जगह को बचाने के लिए हमें क्या करना चाहिए। ओके। एंड इफ यू कैन ऑल सपोर्ट अस देन ये सब हो सकता है। ओके मुकेश, एनीथिंग एल्स यू वांट टू ऐड? ओके।
नहीं, मोस्टली बच्चों ने सब कह दिया है। बस मैं यही कहूंगा कि हमें और लोगों की और लोगों के आइडियाज की, उनके एक्सपीरियंसेस की जरूरत है, क्योंकि हम अभी जो बच्चे कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे वो जैसा उन्हें समझ आता है, जो उनका इंस्टिंक्ट कहता है, वो उस बेसिस पे चल रहे हैं और काफी अच्छा कर रहे हैं। बट जब आप सभी लोगों का सपोर्ट मिलेगा देन हम शायद और बेहतर तरीके से इस सब्जेक्ट पे काम कर पाएंगे।
थैंक यू मुकेश। हाँ, आई थिंक दैट्स अ वेरी पावरफुल मैसेज। अभी जो बच्चों ने किया है, देर अबाउट अ डजन किड्स इन्वॉल्व, एंड रोज लगे हुए हैं। ओके। एंड it's just been remarkable watching them and this whole process evolve. Okay. And वो अपनी इंस्टिंक्ट से, अपनी इच्छा से कर रहे हैं। ओके। एंड they all want support from the wider community in India who are coming there to watch birds, who understand why this location is special, and also, I mean, a broader conservation community in India. They want to reach out कि हमें इस जगह को बचाना है। ये जगह कोई प्रोटेक्टेड एरिया में नहीं है, ये एक शेयर्ड लैंडस्केप है जहां पर बायोडाइवर्सिटी और ह्यूमन सोसाइटी साथ साथ मिलजुल कर रह रहे हैं, एंड साथ साथ कुछ बचाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। इज इट पॉसिबल दैट वी रीच आउट एंड हेल्प देम? Okay, over to you, Asian Adventures team. Thank you for hosting this. I will just switch to my other device to allow questions. I'll just change devices. Okay, the children will also be available for any questions that you want to ask. Yeah.
So it was indeed a very insightful session, and the kind of personal touch that I got because belonging to someone from Uttarakhand, it definitely felt like a homecoming that we getting to know my culture and traditions being recognized, as well as being merged with the concept of ecotourism. So with this participants, we move on to the Q&A session, and so you all can post your questions in the chat box, which will be taken from here. So with this, I take up the first comment from Prateek. Ma'am, Mr. Prateek says appreciates your work firstly, and then he says that he can help in the video documentation and has asked that what kind of support can basically be taken. If you could share the local contacts and the people who are working with you in this mission.
Hi, sorry about this brief. Hi, again, I'm not able to access the video for some reason. That's okay. All right. Okay. It says the host has disabled it. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. All right. Yeah. If you can enable it, it's fine. Otherwise, we can continue. Okay.
Sure. Just a second. So now the first question is by Mr. Prateek, who firstly appreciates your work, and then he says that he can help with the video documentation, and therein he wants to ask that how he can further help in these initiatives by your mission.
Yeah, thank you so much for the help. There are, I think, several others also who offered help in video and photo documentation. We're very glad to hear that. We would again request the Asian Adventures team to help us kind of connect and kind of put this together in a sensible way so that we can steer this in the next few weeks. Okay, it's a very, very critical time for the bird. They've started to actually breed. Initially, they were building false nests. Now the female is in the nest. They're trying to incubate eggs. And it's a very, very critical time, and we all need to come together to hopefully try and ensure that the bird breeds successfully at Haripura this year. Okay, and we really look forward to all the support that you can offer. Okay.
Ma'am, can you please try to open your video now?
Yeah. Huh?
Ma'am, can you please try to switch on your camera now?
Yeah, now I can. Yes, now I can. Yes. Thank you.
So, ma'am, yeah. The next question is by Pragya. She wants to ask, are there any other birds that you are observing?
At Haripura, oh yeah, at Haripura there are lots and lots of other birds right now, and more than me, I would ask Mukesh and the children to share. It's incredibly hot and humid there right now. Okay, it's very, very difficult to be out there. So if you want to go there, we would suggest that you come fully equipped with adequate water and maybe a cooling jacket and adequate, caps and stuff. Okay. But we're seeing a lot of breeding activity among moorhens, among other resident birds, the jacanas. Okay, as I said, the 4 species of weavers are trying to breed there. There's also the chestnut cap babbler. Okay, there's a whole bunch of other birds that reside in the terai that are trying to breed there right now. Mukesh, you want to add to this? Okay.
डेफिनेटली आप लोग अगर भी आएंगे, हाँ मौसम थोड़ा चैलेंजिंग है, बट मेरे ख्याल से बहुत बहुत मजेदार अभी चीजें चल रही हैं यहाँ पर। न सिर्फ फिन्स के परस्पेक्टिव से बल्कि बाकी जैसा मैम ने कहा बहुत सारी अदर बर्ड्स भी यहाँ ब्रीड कर रही हैं अभी। हमारे पास कई सारी कुकूज हैं और ड्रोंगोज हैं, देन पैराडाइज फ्लाई कैचर्स की ब्रीडिंग हम देख रहे हैं, डॉलर बर्ड की ब्रीडिंग है। तो काफी अच्छा अभी यहाँ पर ब्रीडिंग सीजन चल रहा है। कईयों के जो है जो छोटे छोटे बच्चे हैं जिनकी अभी पूंछ नहीं निकली है वो उड़ना सीख रहे हैं या फुदक फुदक के उड़ना सीख रहे हैं। तो बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज, मतलब मजेदार रहता है पूरा दिन। आप पूरा दिन भी वहां बैठेंगे तो आपको लगेगा कि अभी मन भरा नहीं है, अभी और करना बाकी है।
बिल्कुल, बहुत गजब है ये साइड। समर हो, मानसून हो या विंटर, there's something, it's fantastic. Okay. Yeah.
That is truly inspirational to definitely something I think people can look forward to.
Mukesh, do you want to share? There's something really like crazy happening there. Mukesh and the children have been seeing the osprey. 4-5 दिन पहले आके बच्चों ने बताया मुकेश को कि सर यहाँ पर अभी वो सफेद सा कोई ईगल उड़ रहा है. They went and checked it out and it was the osprey. Even I didn't believe them. I said, how can that be? It's a winter visitor to India. We only see it in winter, okay, along wetlands and big rivers. And remarkably, it's there this summer. There's a pair of ospreys there in Haripura as we speak right now. Okay.
Brilliant. I think that is the only thing I can say right now. And Pragya also wants to ask, are you engaging corporate for this mission?
Are you engaging?
Corporate for this mission.
We're supported by the Royal Enfield Social Mission, and we're also supported by the Coexistence Consortium for the work we do. Okay. We definitely need in the existing support that we have certain things planned out for this year. There is requests coming, emerging like requirements there at Gulaboj, some of which are beyond our means right now. Especially this request to organize a special event at Gulaboj for the villagers, because to set up a good theatre performance, we need a stage, we need good audio, lighting, and all of that costs money. Okay, and we don't have that budgeted for this year for Gulaboj. If any of you can support that, we would be very, very happy, because I think the kind of powerful performances we've been doing across other parts of Uttarakhand that has brought people together, it needs to be brought to this site as well. And then we'll be, I think, able to catalyze a lot more action. And yeah. Okay.
That's really great. And with this, we move to the next question by Mr. Oswald Vincent. Sir wants to join the team. He says he can contribute by photography. And I can check in the chat box. Many people are interested towards joining this mission. So, ma'am, if you could please could guide them that what guidelines or steps they should follow.
Yeah. I think Nature Science Initiative, again, we would request, support from Asian Adventures to kind of coordinate this support that's coming in. And we will collaborate with Asian Adventures. I mean, ours is a very old and long collaboration. So we will only want as much support as we need on the ground right now, and the kinds of support that we need are often not monetary at this point of time. Of course, we want better documentation, more powerful content coming from there, and these stories to be shared across a wider audience, okay, so that they can inspire and motivate others. Okay, these stories to be shared beyond the borders of Uttarakhand to a larger national and international audience. Okay, it's very, very much the need of the hour right now, and that's why we're reaching out to all of you. Okay, we ourselves are stretched to the limits. We often don't have these skills or the cameras or the time to sit and edit videos. We don't have those kind of skills. Okay, and so we need your support to be able to create these stories, to share these narratives to a wider audience. And all of that costs money. We understand that it does cost quite a bit of money, and we would need to raise that support in a very targeted way, both for local communication as well as a wider communication. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay.
The next question is by Mr. Prateek. Sir wants to ask, what is the avian diversity of the area of Haripura?
What is the
avian diversity of the area?
Avian diversity. Mukesh, how many species do we have here at Haripura? We have a lot of wintering birds here, which come migratory ducks, some of which are only seen here and nowhere else in India. Mukesh, any idea of what's the number right now for Haripura?
Abhi summers mein it would be around 180 to 200, and
Okay.
All over the year we get around 363, 365.
Okay. Yeah. Does it answer? Yeah. So summers, Mukesh says that in summers we have around 180 to 200 species. In winters it goes up to 365. Okay. We've been seeing the greatest scope here last few winters. It's a very, very rare duck that's reported occasionally across Indian wetlands. Of course, we see a whole bunch of other typical winter visitors, but yeah, we also see some very, very unusual ducks here, which are not seen anywhere else in India. Okay.
Okay. The next question is by Mr. Anand Kumar. Sir wants to ask if we can organize a bird festival for schools across Uttarakhand to raise awareness about bird conservation.
Absolutely. NSI Asian Adventures have been part of the Uttarakhand Bird Festival since its inception. In fact, our collaboration between NSI and Asian Adventures started at the first Uttarakhand Bird Festival. Okay. And schools have always been part of the Uttarakhand Bird Festivals. But I think it's really be really nice if you could bring the Uttarakhand Spring Bird Festival or associated events to Cooler Boj and these very critical habitats in the coming months and years. It's,
So with this, we come to an end of today's webinar. Firstly, thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out your precious time and bringing out this wonderful story to all of us. Stories
yeah.
like these definitely act as a pillar of support, the pillar of inspiration for wildlife ecotourism to exist in the first place. It makes us realize it's no longer a niche, uh, I would say a niche. It is something that is evolving into a mainstream. And hats off to people like you, people who take in such initiatives that such a vibrant change is happening.
मेरा नहीं ये बच्चों का काम है please remember that okay yeah
The kids, the ideas, their observation skills has definitely given a big push to this mission.
Yeah and thanks to you for all the support to Asian Adventures. We really appreciate the support. Okay, thank you.
And to the participants, to become a part of more such stories, please do follow our Indian Wildlife Network page. The next chapter is taking place in Mumbai on 5th of July. And to stay updated when the Indian Wildlife Network would take place in your city, please do follow our Instagram page.
Yeah, so my email address, somebody was asking for my email address is Prasad Soumya, Prasad, Prasad, Soumya @gmail.com. If you can add it into the chat box, for some reason that's not opening on my phone. Prasad Soumya @gmail.com. Mukesh, can you type that in? Yeah, thank
yes.
you. Yeah. Prasad Soumya @gmail.com. Okay, thank you.
And before we sign off, there's a quick note from our end that at Asian Adventures, the Global Wildlife Fair, the Indian Wildlife Network, and Earthworks, we believe that meaningful conservations are a part and parcel for meaningful conservations and conversations as well. We hope look forward to welcoming you for another session soon. Good evening, everyone. With this, we come to an end. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining. See you. Bye.